Hey guys, it's Greg, and I'm back here today with a custom action figure review. I know it's been a real long time since I had any of these up on the channel. Long story short, I'm back in production, able to make things, get some videos up for you guys, so really happy to be doing that again. Thanks for sticking around. Let's get started. Today we're going to take a look at Rorschach from the Watchmen. He's about 6 inches, so 1/12 scale. Marvel Legends base underneath all this, kind of fudgeable with Mezco as well. And this was a private commission. I've worked with my client closely before on some other projects, so playing to my strengths and then some new challenges, some stuff we wanted to go for. Full cloth outfit, lots of detailing, weathering, realism at the small scale, accessories, etc. And then kind of going for a hybrid between the movie look, so heavy realism, dark, and then the comic. Some elements you can see like the gloves and the alternate heads coming through there, just translated. I remember some of the earliest customs I made incorporated cloth or fabric elements. I was a big fan of Glorbs. That's an old shout out if anybody remembers that guy. I really liked the look of it, and so it was fun to come all the way full circle after all these years and kind of revisit the same character, of course with really advanced techniques that I've had to teach myself over the years, like miniature patterning, tailoring, classical techniques like that, weathering, etc. Keeping everything consistent and in scale so it looks really nice on camera or in your hands. Anyways, let's break down the accessories and then we can move into articulation, some details, etc. Rorschach. Rorschach comes with a total of 5 heads, 3 masked, 2 unmasked. And I wanted to include as many different expressions as I could, some from the comic panels specifically, and then that main promo design from the movie that we like. And the Walter Kovacs head is just casts based off of Master Sculpt. Worked really hard on that expression. Also requested were some purple comic accurate gloves. They ditched those in favor of brown leather in the movie. Switching the heads, very simple. Once again, it's a Marvel base, so one of those big fat ball pegs, and the heads are all cast from a softer resin. I always like to kind of hollow pieces out, that way it makes switching things easier and less of a hassle for me while I'm working on it, and then especially for a client. I don't want to risk anybody breaking anything, like the hat brim. Same goes with the unmasked heads. We spent a lot of time back and forth on what he should look like, and we kind of chose a realistic approach based on his comic book look. For the unmasked heads, we looked closely at the comic panels just to do something different from Jackie Earle Haley, and of course this is Walter Kovacs' version, not the new version. I don't know that guy's name. He thinks of himself as ugly, and he's pockmarked, and he looks rough, kind of squat nose and like strange lips, and then that ginger fro. Translating that in a way that I could in 3D and just kind of making him unattractive, but also some kind of facial expression like he's hurt and, after everything is character history, he's not like a happy man. Also comes with comedian's button. Whenever I'm working on a custom, I like to disassemble the figure for prepping, paint, sanding. But parts with pegs, I like to hollow out even further and keep kind of loose. It makes things easier for me to switch, and then for the client once again as well. You see the purple gloves there, fists, nice. Alright, let's take a look at his articulation. He's just a classic Marvel Legends body sanded down underneath all that fabric. Once again, the head is on a ball joint, swivels. You get some tilt as well. I believe this was that suit body that Hasbro made. The chameleon, I think, came on it. And some of the articulation is restricted from the coat just because everything's tailored and is almost form-fitting in some areas to look more realistic. But you can see we have the shoulder movement, bicep swivel, double-jointed elbows. So for the most part, he gets the articulation you would want out of him, or like even a Hot Toys figure. Some of those are restricted depending on the outfits. Hands on a ball, swivel. I made sure to attach that button to that hand just to grip it, and I included some extra buttons. He still has his torso crunch. You can go backwards as well, and swivel underneath. The coat is glued and attached strategically in some areas, but it is sewn together. Legs, 90 degrees. I try to use a flexible fabric when I can find it, still maintaining that realism at the scale. Double jointed knees, swivels at the thigh. Can get still wide stances, which is good. You can get Rorschach in some action stances. Ankle swivels are preserved. That body had some funky dress shoes. You can see the heel is like just a little sliver back there, but it worked for what I needed on this guy. And he stands just great. One of the reasons my client approached me for this character, I think, was because of his outfit. Also a love for the character Rorschach. But just coming back to all this and, classic trench coat and then just basic pair of pants at the end of the day underneath all the paint, I was really looking forward to the challenge of doing all the tailoring at this scale, seeing what I learned and kind of putting it to the test. So I'm really happy with their proportions and how it turned out. Another thing I wanted to do was compare him to a Mezco figure. So Joker, who has kind of a basic suit costume. It's interesting because in the time that I stopped doing customs with my fabric outfits, Mezco appeared with their 1/12 scale figures, which all make use of fabric outfits, and I also see a lot more customizers doing it. But Mezco's really kind of the big mass market company releasing things like this at this scale, which is interesting. And I do got to give them props because most of the time their patterning is very well done, and they use tiny sewing machines to get everything to connect. But what I do kind of knock them on is their realism. Their fabric is not treated, and that always bothers me. Like, there's a lack of depth to everything. It just looks like fabric. So that's why I always try to add paint and weather things to my figures, just like how they do in the movies to make things look good on camera. So Mezco, shit's boring. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about any of this? Or do you care? To conclude, I'm very happy with the way this Rorschach turned out based on the parameters and bullet points we wanted to hit, leaning heavily in the direction of the movie with some comic book elements as opposed to just trying to realize the comic book version. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be sure to like and subscribe. I'll be back as soon as I can with more custom reviews. You can find my email address, gregsarabiaart@gmail.com, along with my social media contacts in the description below. Thanks again.